Precinct 4 Commissioner Lesley Briones, who you will hear from shortly, as well as, of course, the Executive Director of the Harris County Flood Control District, Dr. Tina Peterson, who has been a fantastic partner and will be able to share all of the real details about what we're doing here. And also Regina Racinos from the General Land Office. So glad that you're here with us this morning as well. As we all know, over the last decade in particular, people across our community have faced major storm events and have handled them with the courage and determination that we have come to expect, but are also exhausted from dealing with. And so we know, looking back to the Tax Day flood, the Memorial Day flood, Hurricane Harvey to Hurricane Beryl, we have dealt with repeated massive weather events. And each one has been different, but each one has underscored the incredible need for us to continue to improve and build upon our flood mitigation infrastructure. And since my very first day in Congress, that is one thing that I have been focused on, because it is a very real need in the 7th Congressional District and across our community. And so this morning, I have the privilege and pleasure of announcing once again that Congress is responding to our needs, that members of Congress have heard our request and the request that I put in to help us continue to build out this infrastructure and to partner with Harris County and Harris County Flood Control to provide additional funding for yet another project. And it's exciting to be here. It's exciting to stand here and talk about these projects, because this has been this is now our third one of these announcements in as many years of congressional funding. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about that. Then I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Briones, and then we will turn it over to Director Peterson, and then we'll take some questions. But I do think it's really important to understand sort of how this came to be. Certainly we know the origin of identifying our needs and our projects. And back in 2021 now, Congress instituted a new process to enable members of Congress to identify projects and needs in their own districts and to advocate specifically for congressional funding for those projects to come directly from Congress through the annual congressional appropriations process into these projects. And so each year I have prioritized and specifically requested funding for projects for Harris County Flood Control District. And we are already seeing the incredible benefits of our first project together, the Meyer Grove Detention Basin, which I am told was, even though it's not finished, but was under construction, and we just did the groundbreaking earlier this year, that it held water and kept water out of homes during Hurricane Beryl. So really important. These projects have a huge impact. And this morning, we are celebrating an additional nearly $1 million in funding for the Keegans Bayou project. Now, it's part of a larger project, and again, we'll get through a lot of the details about what the project will make possible, but I do think it's important to highlight that that project will be made possible by continued collaboration at every level of government. And so this particular project will be used to the funding will be used to construct a stormwater detention basin that will allow more capacity for a 100-year rainfall event. It will protect nearby residences and businesses, also protecting roadways and other important infrastructure that we need to keep moving across our community and to keep going. But these are areas in our district and in the county that have seen repeated flooding events, not only during Hurricane Harvey, but I think the levels were just as high here during Hurricane Beryl. So we know this area needs attention, and that's why I'm thrilled that our friends here and that our leaders in our community have identified this as a priority project, and that this project is moving through the process, and that we will be able to address some of these areas that have had repeated impact, including Huntington Village and Town West, as well as communities all along the Keegans Bayou Watershed. It really is a much needed improvement that's going to have a real impact as we have seen from the other projects. And it's important to point out that the funding for this project comes from a couple of different sources. So like I said, $1 million in direct funding from the budget that we just passed in March of this year, that Congress passed and President Biden signed into law. Also funding from the Harris County bond that we all voted for a few years ago to make sure that we could address these priorities. And also funding through the Texas General Land Office from the Community Development Block Grant funding, CDBG funding, that Congress appropriated after Hurricane Harvey. So very important that those funds are being reinvested in our community, and I really thank our partners at the General Land Office and have been glad to work with them to make sure that the federal agencies that oversee some of these funds have extended deadlines, have made sure that we could use these funds here in our community to address these really pressing needs. And so, again, it's yet another example of collaboration and partnership that is so important. And most important, it is an example of responding to very real needs here in our community. We are experienced in responding in disasters, but we are also ready to have more infrastructure that will help us in those times of need, not to have to worry about whether the water is going to cross over our thresholds and into our homes and into our businesses. I know that people across our community are continuing to recover from Hurricane Beryl. And again, I thank Commissioner Briones so much for her leadership in responding throughout that crisis. I was able to join her at the distribution center and cooling centers across Precinct 4. And it's so important that we have leaders and people working across our community in these times of great distress across our community, when people were without power in this incredible heat, when people were struggling with damage. It's also important that we have people who are looking ahead and looking forward at how we can prevent those things from happening in the first place. And so this marks an important opportunity for us to do some really meaningful work here, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I will continue to advocate for these kinds of congressional funds and make sure we get both this direct funding through this community project process, and also to continue to advocate for funding for disaster relief funding and for the kinds of funds that we see enable us through the federal government to make these incredible investments. I will also just add, because I'm talking about Hurricane Beryl, that for those who still need assistance, you can still get assistance from FEMA and from the SBA. A lot of folks who don't necessarily own small businesses don't realize that they are eligible to apply for SBA loans as well, and assistance from the SBA. So it's really important that everybody who's watching understand that there are federal resources available to help of all kinds. And certainly this morning we're talking about federal resources that will be incredibly helpful in the long-term investment in our infrastructure. But we are here to help. I am here to help in the 7th Congressional District and across our community, and I couldn't be more proud than to stand here with these incredible community leaders who are looking ahead, thinking about the future, and making sure that we are prepared together for the next storm. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Briones. Thank you so much for your incredible leadership and work. I'm delighted to be here with you this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lesley Briones, and welcome to Precinct 4. I'm grateful to be serving as your commissioner for Harris County Precinct 4. First, please join me in thanking profoundly for her leadership, her service. It's all about the work. It's all about the people. It's all about results all day, every day with you, Congresswoman Fletcher, and I see it firsthand. You're my Congresswoman. And it gives me pride, it gives me peace, knowing that you're advocating for Congressional District 7 in this entire region in Washington. And thank you for advocating for this additional funding to make the improvements along Keegans Bayou possible. We are all extremely grateful for your partnership. I also want to thank our wonderful Harris County Flood Control Director, Dr. Tina Peterson. Her decades of expertise are driving Harris County forward and protecting Harris County. And there's so many examples, and she will delve into the benefits of this project momentarily. I also want to thank Gina Recinos from the Texas General Land Office, as well as Commissioner Don Buckingham and all of your team for just the wonderful collaboration that we've been able to achieve here in Harris County with the GLO. So thank you very much for all that y'all do. And as Congresswoman Fletcher said, this is an example of good government. Government working across levels of government, across party lines to deliver protection and progress for people. This is what we want to be seeing today and always. We're here today along Keegans Bayou, and this area in particular has been very vulnerable to flood events. And we can say very similar things for many regions across Harris County. During Hurricane Harvey, over 1,000 structures in this Alief area were affected. This is a very underserved area in need of these improvements. And the fabulous details are coming. But the bottom line is by increasing the drainage capacity in the Keegans Bayou stormwater detention, we're helping this Alief area and areas alongside. And this bayou in particular runs through Precinct 4 into Alief. And as Congresswoman Fletcher said, we are right on the border of Fort Bend County. So again, this is a team approach. Water doesn't know boundaries, county lines, state lines. So we're in this together and we will be stronger together. There's various segments of this project, but this $1 million approximately that we were able to achieve thanks to your advocacy, Congresswoman Fletcher, augments what the voters approved in our 2018 flood bond, as well as CDBG funds. So together, this funding is approximately a $33 million project overall, and this segment behind us is approximately $14.5 million. I think about the over 23,000 neighbors, community residents, who will be more safe, who will be safer because of this improvement here along Keegans Bayou. So for those 23,000 residents, this is for you. And know that in addition to this project, we, and I say we collectively across levels of government, will be here for you before, during, and after every storm. And we've seen how these investments make a difference. We were talking about examples, one of which is the Braze Bayou. We saw how this partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers, Harris County Flood Control District, in Beryl, the water rose. It got near the top of the bank, but it never flooded that area. So we see that these projects work in delivering protection and safety for our residents. And so building on the progress of Braze and so many other projects that Dr. Peterson and her team are leading for this region, we're seeing the results, and we need to keep investing together, and we need to keep working on solutions collaboratively. Lastly, we're also partnering on these more immediate, I use that in air quotes because these projects take a long time to complete, but also in longer term, making sure that we have resiliency broadly defined. And I want to thank the Biden-Harris administration and again, Congresswoman Fletcher for the support. For example, we got a Solar for All grant recently. It's a $250 million grant for Harris County and other parts of Texas to help us with the resiliency with regard to solar. We're exploring other avenues so that resiliency, broadly defined, we are protecting Texans, we are protecting residents of Harris County and beyond. Harris County is proud to have passed its climate action plan, which will also help drive protection and progress. So there's so many examples, but the bottom line is that we're thinking of what can we do today, whether it's mowing, native seed mixes, building that natural infrastructure. We're thinking of midterm, and such as this. We're thinking of long-term. How can we keep exploring the deep tunnels? And I appreciate, again, Congresswoman Fletcher's advocacy in terms of the BBTRS study and other efforts we're looking into. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And we're just all exhausted, to be frank. in terms of the impact of these repeated storms. We as in our community, we as in our children, we as the residents who have lived here for decades. I have 3 little girls. Every time it rains, they start worrying immediately. We live near White Oak Bayou. Beryl, we haven't gotten to that, finished that project yet. The water was almost 8 feet. I live right on the ravine by the bayou, and there's so much work left to be done. Let's be realistic. We have so much work to be done. But know that with these leaders, we will work tirelessly to make sure we're always getting to be safer and more protected. And I'll switch very, very briefly into Spanish because I know, thank you for our Spanish language media who came. Buenos días a todos. Soy Lesley Briones, su comisionada del Condado Harris, Precinto 4. Primero, quiero dar las gracias a la congresista Lizzie Fletcher del Distrito 7. Ella es un líder increíble que nos ha ayudado por todo el condado y hoy estamos celebrando el Bayou Keegans aquí atrás de nosotros y el $1,000,000 que usted nos ayudó. Muchísimas gracias a la directora y la doctora Tina Peterson del Distrito del Control de Inundaciones del Condado Harris y a la Oficina General de Tierras de Texas, Regina Recinos y también la comisionada Dawn Buckingham por todo su apoyo y su alianza en este proyecto y en general. Estamos viendo cómo el gobierno puede trabajar cuando trabajamos juntos y trabajamos con todos los niveles del gobierno. En la última década, la gente del condado Harris ha sido impactada horriblemente por inundaciones. Estamos aquí en el Precinto 4, en la zona de Alief, aquí en Keegans Bayou, que recorre el precinto, y esta zona se inundó increíblemente en el huracán Harvey y su comunidad sufrió graves pérdidas. Y por eso estamos mejorando la capacidad de la drenaje en la cuenca de Keegans Bayou. Y este es un proyecto de $14.5 millones, esta parte del todo proyecto, que busca que las familias están seguras. Y no solo reducirá el riesgo de inundación, sino que también mejorará la calidad del agua y del aire para más de 20,000 residentes en esta zona. Desde el Precinto 4 seguiremos ayudando porque sabemos que este tipo de inversiones marcan la diferencia. Y hemos visto, por ejemplo, en Brays Bayou, durante Beryl, nuestras mejoras logran que el agua no se desbordara y causará daños. Y estamos viendo eso, y vimos eso en Beryl. Además de estos proyectos de este tipo, también tenemos el Plan de Acción Climática y la iniciativa Solar for All, y gracias de nuevo a la congresista, al presidente Biden, todos con más de $200 millones de inversión planificada. Estamos trabajando con nuestros socios para lograr un precinto, un condado, un estado, una nación más resiliente. Y todavía nos queda una larga temporada de huracanes. Y por favor, esté alerta, haga preparativos y revisa nuestras redes sociales para estar informado. Y recuerde que siempre nosotros estamos aquí para servirle antes, durante y después de cada tormenta. Y juntos podemos lograr más. Y de nuevo, muchísimas gracias, congresista Fletcher. Y ahora vamos a oír de la directora, Dr. Peterson. Thank you again, Congresswoman Fletcher, for your tireless, incredible leadership and work. And next we will hear from Dr. Tina Peterson, who leads our Harris County Flood Control District.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you so much, Congresswoman Fletcher, for having us here today. It is so wonderful to be able to celebrate this announcement of funding for this project. We are so thankful to be able to continue our work on the Keegans Bayou Stormwater Detention Basin project. We are very thankful not only for the funding, but also for your commitment, Congresswoman, to ensuring that flood mitigation remains a priority. And Commissioner Briones, thank you for your steadfast commitment and support. I can say what I know about both of you is that your willingness to step forward to support the flood control district is unmatched, and we appreciate your help to continue to move forward our projects every day. Since the inception of the Flood Control District, we have collaborated with partners throughout the county, and we are especially appreciative of our partner in the GLO. We appreciate Commissioner Dawn Buckingham for her commitment to help us finish projects that we would not have been able to finish were it not for the GLO, providing funding from both the Community Development Block Grant Program for disaster recovery, as well as for mitigation. Both those programs are hugely impactful when combined with our 2018 Flood Control Bond Program. This project that we are working on here in this location.
I'm going to pause you for just a second. We're having a medical situation,
Oh,
so we need to
okay.
let this car
Okay,
get
Can they get through?
absolutely.
Can they get through?
I'm so sorry.
No worries.
I hope they're okay.
Yes, I think so. I think it's just a heat related situation.
Oh, okay.
We're going to let these cars through and then we'll continue.
Okay.
Thank you all.
No worries.
Thank you.
My spatial relationships are not good. I was like, can they get through? But they can't.
They can barely get it.
Have that issue too, parallel acting learning.
That's over to you.
All right. So we will continue. Is this on? Did I get it? Turn on? All right. There we go. I've got it, I think. There we go.
Yep.
So this project that we are talking about today is part of a 3-part vision for this region. The first part of this project is a stormwater detention basin that will be completed to the north of Keegans Bayou. And that project is funded by the 2018 bond program as well as the Community Development Block Grant Program. The second phase of this project is being funded thanks to Congresswoman Fletcher, and it will support yet another stormwater detention basin. And stormwater detention basins are really, really important parts of our flood mitigation toolbox. What they do is they take water, they capture it from surrounding areas, and they store it during a storm event. And then after the storm has passed, it allows that water to be discharged back into the bayou when the water levels are lower and there will not be impact to homes and residents and businesses. So this nearly $1 million in funding is a critical part of making these projects happen, and we are just so thankful. We remain committed to reducing the risk of flooding across Harris County, and together with the important and impactful leadership of both Commissioner Briones and Congresswoman Fletcher, we know that we will be able to continue this work, reduce the risk of flooding, and make our communities safer. And so thank you, Congresswoman, again for this funding. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much, Director Peterson. Thank you again, Commissioner Briones. Thank you again to the GLO for just this incredible partnership. We're happy to take any questions if anyone here has a question for us.
I'm with the Fort Bend Star. How much impact would this have on Fort Bend County residents?
So I will say broadly, the hope is very much that this will reduce flooding across this entire area. So there will be an impact in Fort Bend as well as Harris County, and that was a very important consideration. And for me, since I have the privilege of representing both Harris County and Fort Bend County in the 7th Congressional District, parts of Fort Bend County, certainly not the entire county, but working together on something that has regional benefits and will help hold that stormwater and make sure that it's not getting into homes, it's not getting into nearby businesses. And I believe, it's my understanding that the immediate impact of that particular basin around this area, and so it will benefit both Harris and Fort Bend counties and the people who live in this specific area, as well as I think it's important to understand that each project that we do helps reduce the pressure across the system, and we have a system of interconnected bios throughout our region. And so the water that we take out of Brays Bio and Buffalo Bio, those things, those are two of the principal, but certainly not only the water we take out of Keegans Bayou, that all has an impact across the region. And so that's why these projects are so important. And what we know in an area that has developed and is continuing to develop is we need to do all kinds of different things. As Director Peterson described it so well, use all the tools in the toolbox that we have. And so these detention basins are an important piece of that, as well as some of the other projects that we're continuing to work on. And I did put out a press release on this, but in case anybody missed it, we are working very hard to complete the Buffalo Bayou and tributaries resiliency study that was authorized by Congress after Hurricane Harvey to address the flooding from Harvey along Buffalo Bayou, certainly to incorporate challenges that we saw from that particular event. Like I said earlier, all the events are different, but we know that we need more capacity and we need to address stormwater detention and drainage. And so that has taken its first step. We have language in this year's Water Resources Development Act, also known as WRDA, to require the Army Corps of Engineers to complete the study by the end of 2025. So that has made it out of committee. It is in the bill, and so hopefully we will see the conclusion of that study so that we can then find the alternatives and a project that has community support. We can build community support and we can continue to address that as well. So continuing to work in lots of different ways, whether it's congressional funding or making sure that legislation enables us to do the work that we need to do. And so I'm very pleased that that has moved forward just in the last month out of that committee. So hopefully that helps. That was much broader than the question, but I do think overall all of these projects are going to help our entire region, and I think it's really important that we continue to have a region-wide focus because we're all interconnected. People are living and working in Harris and Fort Bend counties and across this entire region, and that's why, again, I'm so glad for the partnership and the good work with the General Land Office as well to make sure that we're identifying needs and that we're working together to bring all of the different resources from all the different pockets that we can to do these projects. Thanks for your question. Any other questions? Okay, well, with that, thank you all so much for being here this morning. And again, thank you to these incredible partners. I look forward to our next announcement of our next big project because we'll continue to do this work. And as Commissioner Briones said, I think so beautifully, we are partners here to serve this entire community. And we have both the privilege and the responsibility of doing it every single day. And it's something that I take very seriously. I know our team does, and I know everyone standing here is working to make sure that we have the resources that we need, the plans that we need, the projects that we need to help our communities survive and thrive in spite of the future storms that we know are headed our way. So thank you so much this morning for being here. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Just stand right in front of the podium.
Oh, okay.
We'll get you. I like the shade on you guys.
Okay, oh, good. All right.
You beat me to it.
Well, good. We can all show. I guess. Yes. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for the shirt.
This is why you were sheltering from the show your pride photo shoot. You want to look at
That's great. Thank you.
your, everybody?
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
What is that? Thank you for showing us.
Our hair. To make sure my hair was messed up.
Not cover the podium.
Oh, okay.
Good to see you. Okay. We can just take your speaker out.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yes.
Great. Perfect.
Perfect.
Now, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1,